Hey, everybody. We're going to talk about how you can win more tricks. The percentages. Those dreaded percentages. Hopefully, most of y'all will find this as interesting as I did. I love the math part of bridge, the percentages and how they influence the decisions you make and how you can use them to help yourself make good decisions. So, here we go. In order to accurately count how many winners you might have in a hand, you need to understand the percentages of how the suits break between the two opponents' hands. What that means is how the cards are distributed, the remaining cards between your two opponents' hands. Most of the time, when you are playing a handout, you have, especially if you have a trump suit, you have at least 8 cards in the suit. So if you look down in your first column, that's the number of cards in a suit between declarer's two hands. So we're looking at how many cards we have in a suit, how many are in dummy, and let's say we had 8. There's 13 cards in every suit. If we have 8, they have 5. So we want to look at how those 5 cards are probably distributed between my two opponents' hands. Okay. If you take a look, those are your most likely splits by how many, by percent, by how many that the opponents have between their two hands. This is kind of these percentages, and you'll see a lot more of them. How many points you have, how many cards the opponents have, kind of the bread and butter of trying to decide how to play a hand. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at one suit, not the whole hand, but just one specific suit, and how to play that suit to its best advantage to try and help you win more tricks. Notice that one of the highest percentages is when you have 8 and they have 5. Those 5 cards are split between your two opponents' hands, 3 in one hand, 2 in the other, over 67% of the time. That's huge. For bridge players, that's like just a for sure number almost. We know it's not for sure, but we count very highly on that. That 3-1 percentage when the opponents have 4, 49% of the time, 49 and a fraction, they'll be 3 and 1. Bridge players play the percentages. We don't play for some unlikely holding of a suit unless it's the only way they could possibly be that we could make our contract. We like to make plans based on what is most likely. If you don't want to try and remember all of those numbers, then I can give you a kind of a hack for this. If the opponents hold an odd number of cards between their two hands, the suit most often breaks as evenly as possible. And when the opponents hold an even amount of cards between their two hands, they generally break unevenly. So you don't have to learn all the percentages, but what you can know is that if they hold an odd number, it breaks generally evenly, and an even number of cards generally breaks unevenly. Seems kind of counterintuitive, doesn't it? All right, so let's talk about some uh, ideas in cards that will help you as you go along. I would put these cards on the table. So I'd like you to take the deck of cards that's on your table, and I want you to put the ace and the queen in the north hand, and the 5 and the 2 in the south hand. It can be any suit you want. Generally, we pick hearts or spades, but you can use any suit, just one suit. Doesn't matter which one. The ace and queen in north, the 5 and 2 in south. Finesse, that's what we're going to learn right now, is an attempt to win a trick with a card when the opponents hold a higher card in that suit. So which of our cards in the north hand is a card we would like to win a trick, but is not the highest card out? It's that queen, right? So what we're trying to do is win a trick with that queen. You'll hear them say, I want to make that queen good. Now, one thing about everything we're going to be doing today is that we're going to have south as declarer and north as dummy. So whenever we look at learning card technique, it usually just makes it easier if south is declare and north is dummy. At your table, if you set those cards up this way, that would be great. If somebody wants to have some cards in front of them, you can always, when we do our next example, you can rotate it so that a different person is south and everybody gets a chance, all right? However works best for y'all. If you can all follow it this way, that works fine as well. So how do you think that we could take a trick with that queen? What I'd like you to do is just mix the rest of those cards up. There's 9 cards left. Face down, kind of shuffle them up and put 5 in one hand and 4 in the other. And try and tell me how do you think that you might be able to win a trick with that queen? Can you work it out? I'll give you about 5 minutes to think about it and see what you come up with. And then we're going to look at the example. Hey, have you got it? Let's look. What we want to do is lead a low card from south towards north. We're hoping that we can make the queen good. So we're always going to lead towards the card that is not a winner presently, but we hope to become a winner. And if West plays a small card, what are we going to do? We're hoping the king is on side and that when we lead the 2, if West plays the 3, we can win a trick with the queen. Now, if the king is in the east hand, what happens? Well, if we lead the 2 and we play the ace, East is not going to play as king, right? So the queen won't be a winner. When we play a low into the queen, the king is going to win. The queen's not going to be a winner. There's nothing we can do about that. When the king is offside, it's impossible to make that queen a winner unless the king is all by itself. What do you think the chances are, the probability that how many cards? 9 cards? No, more than that. 8 cards would be in the west hand and the singleton king would be in east. That's not very likely at all. So if the king is in east and they have at least 2 cards, we can't take a trick with the queen. But anytime the king is in the west hand, we can. So we're always going to want to lead a low card towards the card we want to become a winner, hoping that the card we're missing is on sides, on the side we want it to be on. Okay? So you've got some in your manual on page 37. You have some what we call suit combinations. I've given you the north cards and the south cards. What I'd like you to do is distribute the remaining cards in between east and west. Think about how the opponent's cards typically break. So use that chart on 35 if you need to. So just put however many cards in east and west. And what I want you to do as a team is think about where those specific cards need to be in east and west to meet your goal. I've given you north cards, south cards, and how many tricks I would like you to try and win. So give it a try. Work with your table. Y'all all think about it. Where could those cards be, and how would we need to play that suit to meet our goal? For purposes of this exercise, you can lead from north or south. Either time, it doesn't matter who won the last trick. You can lead from north or south as many times as you want. I just want you to see where the cards need to be to meet your goal. Have fun with it. Hope you did good. With those cards, sort them back into the suits. Now we're going to look at another technique. That's what we call it. We call it card play technique. Another technique to help you win tricks. You can what we call establish, which means create tricks in a long suit by playing the high cards from the hand with the shortest number of cards first. Let's see what that looks like. Here's an example. The king, the queen, the 10, and the 4 of diamonds are in north. The ace and the 7 are in south. The cards we would like to become winners is that 10 of diamonds. We will want to try and win a trick with that 10 of diamonds. We have more diamonds in the north hand than we do in the south hand. So what we would do is we would play the high card from the hand with the shortest number first. So again, your cards in the hand on page 38. I gave you a whole bunch of them. I just want you to do the first 4 or 5. You can do the others if you enjoy this as much as I do. You can do them as practice during the week. Distribute the remaining cards in east and west. Remember the percentages of how the opponent's cards typically break. Use that chart if you need it. Work with your team. How do we do that? I'm going to give you, you have like 10, 15 minutes to do. See how many you can do and how the cards need. How'd you do? Pretty good? Need some help? No. All right. So what I want you to do is try and take more tricks using finessing or the high card from the hand with the shortness. We're going to deal some hands, look for opportunities to try your new strategies. What I want you to do is really think when you have dealt a hand and you're playing it out, how you might do that. You can either try and bid the hands or you can do this mini bridge style. Either one is fine with me. I really want you to concentrate on trying to win more tricks, using these strategies to try and help you win tricks. Okay? Did you take more tricks? Well, I hope you did. Next week, we're going to talk about when you're in a trump contract, how you can take more tricks by trumping. See you then.